Hi, and welcome to this webinar where we will present some data about the development in the return to the office after 2 weird office years. You can say that this is a return to the future. My name is Gertrude. This is Kasper. I'm an international project manager here at Pronestor, and I'm responsible for implementing hybrid workplace setups with our international partners.
Yeah, my name is Kasper. I'm responsible for our product strategy and our visionary roadmap. And I'm responsible for setting the direction for our products so it can help our customers. And definitely in this world, where hybrid is more important than ever.
Before we start, I'd like to encourage you to type any questions you might have here. If you type a question, it will only be your first name that will be shown. We will answer your questions in the end. So Kasper, here in Denmark, we've lived without restrictions for quite a while now, and we can go back to the office as we did before. I know this is not the case all over the world, but what is interesting is that I see that there's a difference in the way that we are returning to the office.
Yeah, and what we see is the workplace is changing, and how we use the office is changing very rapidly. So in Pronestor, we have set the sales to meet these opportunities with our customers. We know that the hybrid is going to be the new normal, no doubt about it. But we do see that there are 3 different strategies to introduce hybrid into your workplace. The 3 strategies that we would like to go through in this webinar is the first one called semi-hybrid, but with flexible days, where you have a specific number of days you are to come in, but which days are flexible, set with the employee and the employers. And then we have the semi-hybrid, but with fixed days, that you are to come in on specific days throughout the week. And the third one is the fully hybrid, where it's fully up to the employee and the employer to see, are we going to come in and when does it make sense to come in. In Pronestor, we have taken our own medicine. We are doing the flexible semi-hybrid model, and we're embracing it by saying that the employees need to come in at least 3 days a week, and then optional 2 days at home. And those 2 days at home, it makes sense if you have a task that requires you to have focus when being at home. Of course, we are following this whole process very closely. We want to learn as we proceed, and we want to be able to adjust the strategy in the future if we think it makes sense for the company, for the employees to get the best out of it. And to follow this whole process, we of course using Pronestor Workspace, where we can look into some data, which we will look into later in this webinar. But as overall, the whole process of this is to make sure that we have an attractive workplace, if it's in office or at home.
I really look forward to seeing that data. I think it sounds really cool to see what is happening. So I've read about different companies that have decided to go back to the office in a hybrid way as well as we have. So one of them is Google. Google have chosen what is most likely the most common version of a hybrid workplace for their San Francisco Bay office, San Francisco Bay area offices, sorry. So from April 4, most employees will be expected to work from the office 3 days a week. Some of them will remain 100% remote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it matches our strategy, or we match the Google strategy, where we have a fully respect of the task and collaboration that is required in office or working from at home. And also we do have colleagues that are 100% working from home.
Do you see any challenges with this way of working?
Yeah, definitely. There are a few topics that I think you should be aware of. For the employees, I would say that the people that are not that often in the office versus those that are a lot of office, you have to be aware that they feel included. They're not being overlooked, overseen, that is, because quickly you can have some colleagues that might feel isolated, and that is not good at all. Again, when you do change or introduce a hybrid strategy, doing it overnight could be for some very stressful, that you are used to being at home or you have your schedule set up and now you have to come in 3 days a week. That could be stressful. So you have to be aware of how you introduce this transition. For the managers who are to support this whole hybrid, they have to manage remotely. That takes some skills not everybody has that skill yet. And the employees need to be aware that they are definitely within the same segment, that they need to be aware of how they are being managed so they can make this whole hybrid way of working come to life. And again, no one has mastered the hybrid fully. There are a lot of concerns still in the market or for a lot of companies, but being aware of it is super important. And again, this new way of working, this new normal, it will require some level of digitalization of the processes. And some of the things that we look into is transparency.
But there are some upsides to this too. I mean, we have decided to go with this type of model. So what are the upsides here?
Yeah, so the upside is that you have these 3 days where you are supposed to be in the office, and then you have the optional 2 days where you can work from at home. And the 3 days are not fixed. They are flexible. So you can choose 1 week where it's Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, and next week would be some other days. So having that flexibility is definitely a plus, I would say. And since you're not required to come into the office every morning, then you have less time in commuting or no commuting at all on specific days. And we can pinpoint those positions or tasks where some employees work 100% from at home. That could be a task that is a month, work from at home with that task. Or if it's due to distance between the home and office, they would say, well, it's 100% work from at home. That's a plus. From a company's point of view, reducing the number of desks and square meters or getting some better purpose of the square meters is a plus for the company. We do see a lot of companies that changes their offices to make it more attractive. And again, less commuting time, fewer square meters in the office is also a positive on the CO2 footprint.
Interesting. I mean, I really enjoyed this way that we have decided. This fits perfectly with my work-life balance. My partner and I can both work from home. He's in another company, but we can take turns on picking up our daughter when we work from home. So we don't have that long time to commute to the daycare center. And then on the days where I work from home, I don't have to get properly dressed like in a proper work attire, and I don't have to fix my face like this. I mean, I didn't wake up like this, but it takes time, and commuting as well. That's a big part of it. So those days I can start working earlier.
Yeah, and since you are giving that flexibility back to the company and the company is giving you that flexibility the other way around, it's a win-win for both, I would say. So it's good to hear.
So let's look at another company. I've looked at Apple too. They have decided on a hybrid work way as well. But here the employees are going back to the office 3 days a week, but on fixed days. So they're going back Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. They have planned a rollout for this, for like a 6-week rollout for this, so they can still adapt. But having these very fixed days, what are the challenges here?
I think you said it yourself, not having the flexibility on coming in on optional days, but you have to come in these 3 specific days throughout the week. I would say that could be for some be a big concern, especially when they're coming from, they're working from at home. And it could be seen as they are going back to the old normal. And they're not following the trend and opportunities that comes with this whole options that there's in the market where you have that flexibility. And the company, will have a hard time reducing the number of square meters a desk, because on Monday and Wednesday, everybody's coming in. So a desk needs to be ready for everybody. You have to have square meters as if they were there the whole week. So that will give them some challenges on scaling up or down in the office environment. But it will be interesting to see how it will evolve, how it will be picked up by the employees, but also how they're going to see people, if they are using the other 2 optional days for coming in or not.
But I believe there are some upsides to this way of working too, right?
Yeah. Having this soft rollout where they have the 6 weeks where they give their employees an option for getting used to this transition, I think will have a positive impact on reducing the stress of getting back to the office.
It's kind of like having a social muscle that you need to exercise.
Exactly, yeah.
If you've been isolated for 2 years and you're suddenly exposed to 50 employees, you might, not be ready for that. It's kind of like your regular muscles, right? If you haven't worked out, you need to start slowly. So I think this rollout plan sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and everybody is different on that aspect. So, but having it as a important topic, I think is super important. Another important thing, plus about this strategy that Apple has is that I know exactly that everybody is in the office on specific days. So if I have face-to-face meetings, I can plan on those days. If I have difficult meetings or confrontations or tasks that are difficult, I know I have the resources in office so we can address those in office.
It's like in my department, we have a mutual agreement that we work from the office every Wednesday. So we have face-to-face time, the entire team on Wednesdays. And this makes really good sense because when we are seeing each other, we don't just discuss a work-related task. We discuss private things as well. And these private things where we help each other privately also makes us go that extra mile for our colleagues. So I really find these days, face-to-face days, very relevant.
Yeah, and even though it's another hybrid model where we have the optional, but your team have found a specific day, it makes so good sense. And also for companies that has specific days, we have heard about companies that has Monday and Friday as being fixed because we want to start the week together and we want to end it together on a Friday by over a beer. So you can adapt it per company, definitely, or department.
So the final company that I've looked at is Twitter, another big tech company. I know I could have chosen 3 different companies, but what I found interesting here was finding 3 similar companies with 3 very different strategies or hybrid strategies. So Twitter CEO announced that their plan to go back to the office is wherever you feel most comfortable, most productive, and most creative is where you will work. And that includes working from home full-time forever. This is an extremely hybrid work model. Does this have any other challenges than the 2 other hybrid strategies?
Yeah, even though a hybrid mode every day sounds great, it does come with a cost. It comes with a cost where it requires attention and effort from the employees and the team leaders to make it work. Being able to manage people hybrid or being managed hybrid will require some attention. It's not a free meal, and not at all. And the company that has an office, I think will be interesting to be a facility manager or employee experience team that needs to make sure that the office is ready for everybody every day, because you're not sure how many will turn up. And they have to go into this blind.
That's actually a quite big task to not knowing what happens in the office every day. So there might be some upside to this too, right?
Definitely. I would say the most obvious upside is the freedom of choice. But again, it doesn't come free, but it's definitely a plus. And from a company, especially if you're a tech company, you can attract employees from all over the world, since they don't have to come into a specific geographic location or company or city or whatever. So that will be interesting, but it will require some energy and alignment.
Or you could just move to Bali and still keep your job. That sounds a very nice solution. I wonder, however, how many actually go to the office and how many works remotely 100%. I know the 2 of us, we will need our social muscle stimulated occasionally, but we're all different on that matter. So every department, every person has their own preference. I remember that many companies, just when COVID started and they were sent home, they said that they were going to return completely to the way that they were before. But what I'm seeing now is a transition in mindset on how to return to the office and this hybrid way of working. You said you have some data that can show me a little bit of how we've returned to the office here.
Yeah, and the transition, what we expected a year ago, compared to what we're actually seeing in the market is quite interesting. We have looked into our data set from our customers throughout the last 4 years, and if we put up the graph, I've highlighted the 2022 for the first 3 months of the year, and it shows how many meetings are being planned in the office where a meeting room is required. And compared to the other years, also pre-COVID, we actually see that there's a lot of pushback to the use of the office, and then therefore the number of employees in the office will follow as well. So you better be prepared and have an idea how your office environment is going to support your colleagues.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and the next step that we have looked into is, okay, now we know that people are coming back. How are they coming back? Which days do they prefer? So we can ensure some alignment between different departments. And we have looked into our 4 different departments here in Pronestor, just to give you an idea on how each team they are preferring which weekday to work in office. And in R&D, the upper left, it shows that in R&D, we usually plan our week on Monday and Tuesday. We set up by Scrum which has to be done, so it's set in stone. So for the remainder of the week, the employees can do their task knowing what to do, and they can do it in office or at home. And that, I think, is depicted pretty well in that graph.
Yeah, if you look at my department, the customer success, as I said, we are always in office on Wednesdays, so that's very clear there. And then on the other 4 days, we are very flexible. I need those days at home because I'm a chatter. So if you come to me here in the office and start chatting, I will chat for hours. So those days where I can focus at home and not being disturbed by my kind colleagues, they are very much appreciated. I believe both for myself and for my boss as well. So we've looked at these 3 different strategies: the semi-hybrid with the optional days, and the semi-hybrid with the fixed days fixed days, and then the fully hybrid where employees can work from everywhere, anywhere, every day. It will be very interesting to follow in the future what will happen, how we will develop, how like the 3 companies that we discussed today will develop, and also what other industries will do. So when having looked at all of this, what are the most important things that a company has to think about when they decide to go hybrid?
Yeah. So even though we have seen 3 strategies, I definitely think that even no matter which of them you choose, you need to talk with your employees and you have to involve them in the process. Why are you choosing this model over this one? And be open that it might be changing in the future. Give them the option to create some transparency between the colleagues. Which days do I prefer staying at home, being in the office? So when you and I are going to meet, Gertrud, we can find the days where we're both in the office. And the office is going to be used more and more. Believe it or not, just look at the graph that we had earlier. That it shows that people are coming in. So you better be sure that you have the best coffee, the coolest water cooler, collaboration zones, and great desk, which will definitely support the people coming into the office. So it needs to change. And be ready to adapt. I'm sure that if we took this same webinar half year in the future, there are some different topics that we need to address. So nothing is set in stone. You need to adapt by company, department, and also on employee level, so you can make the best of it.
Thank you so much for your very interesting analysis, Kasper. That was really great. Now, if you have questions, please type them if you haven't done so already before we start answering the questions. Let me just tell you that we are giving out a free trial for our workspace solution that we use to manage our hybrid setup. So we're sending this out to you afterwards. If you have any questions in regards to this, please let us know. We'll take the question. You can find us here. We'll take the questions. Take the questions now. Let me just see if I can get them up here. Oh, here they are. Okay. All right, first one. Hi, will there be any presentation available after this? Yes, we will send this to all of you after this. It would be nice to see some tips for amending the workplace to accommodate hybrid work style.
Yeah, and I would say that we need to set up a presentation of the Workspace app, how that definitely pitch into this whole aspect, and giving you the data and giving you the insight, and also as I pitched earlier, creating the transparency. So yeah, please call out to us and contact us so we can do a presentation of the Workspace app.
We have another question here. Between Google, Apple, and Twitter, who do you think chose the better hybrid model? I mean, we chose the same model as Google, but I think this has to, I think it depends on the company. I think it depends on the employees, the setup, everything. So I don't think there is one solution that fits all. I think every company has to find their way of working hybridly. Another question, what is the difference between flexible and hybrid?
Yeah, and we actually talked on this, even though it should be quite obvious. We had a discussion to pinpoint it. And when we talk about flexible work style, it's related to the time when you choose to do the work. Do I do my work in the morning or the afternoon? Whereas hybrid is where do you choose to work from? So there are two different topics, but they do align in some way or another. Yeah.
We have another question. If we don't have enough desks for all our employees, would it be better to group the company in teams and give them several days? Several days to get into the office.
Yeah, that you could, being aware that ensure that if they have some mutual collaboration, they should have time in the office at the same time. But you could arrange your week to say, well, these 3 days is for this company and these 2 days are for this office.
But also, I mean, what our solution can do is that you can say you can only book 50% of the desks.
Yeah.
So if you have, I don't know how many desks, it's first come, first served in the solution.
Exactly. So you have different ways of attacking that question, but yeah, definitely.
I can see 2 other people are typing, so let's give them a moment to type through. And in the meantime, just say that, as I just mentioned, we will send out an email with the presentation to everybody who signed up. So even if you didn't have a chance to see this through, or you didn't have a chance to see it at all, it is sent to you along with the free trial with an explanation on how to use the free trial. Let's see if this person is. Anything else you want to say top of mind here on Workspace and on the way we are doing it? Like what do you get out of this as a founder of the company?
I'm definitely seeing what are the requirements for my office. How do I ensure that the office is a great place to come into that meets the expectation of the employees? So not that they choose the office versus at home, because it has different purposes, but it's just to make the experience in the office as great as possible and make sure that you have the best desk, you have the best colleagues around you, you have the best meeting rooms, and also the best coffee.
The best ice cream. I just want ice cream. Okay, another question. What are your thoughts on how to include those people more into the team who really don't want to come into the office and also don't participate in any of the Zoom social gatherings?
Yeah, and I think that question is definitely related to where you're 100% at home or more at home than others of your colleagues. With Pronestor Workspace, you will have that insight. So you can show to your colleagues that they are more or less in the office. You can, as a human resource, you can attack, or not attack, but you can contribute to having a good dialogue with those teams where you see those patterns. So having the data is just a tool for opening up the talk and sharing the insights of who's in the office, who's working from home. And it's not to be stated that working from home is bad, not at all. It's just to be ensured that you have that transparency between all of your employees.
I think it also is a matter of mindset, right, for the person working from home. So what about the efficiency of the employees? Is it different when people are working from home or working from the office?
Yeah, there's a lot of reports on the internet that you can look into, and I wouldn't dare go there to say that it's better to work in office or at home. It depends on the task, on the company, on the culture, and also on the task. So it will differentiate a lot if you're talking about Nordic countries versus European countries, Southern European countries, and also company culture. So I don't have a specific answer to that question.
I think that what we realized throughout this entire period of being sent home is that people actually do work when they are sent home, at least from my perspective, from what I've seen and the people I've talked to all over the world. We have partners in so many countries. So it's definitely what I see, that people do work when they're at home as well. They just work in a different way, right? So sometimes they just pull out the clothes from the washing machine, but it takes 5 minutes and then they're working again. But having those 5 minutes every once in a while, instead of chatting to you at the coffee machine, it's good, I think. Okay. We have another question. What type of approach might work best with a small team of less than 20 people? Yeah,
I think it's a super good question. I wouldn't say it's about the number of people. I would rather say it's depending on the task that needs to be performed. If we talk with the architects, for example, when they're planning a new building, they need to be together as a team. They need to point on the whiteboard, how the building is going to be done. And when they have narrowed down the whole task, they have specific tasks where it's more obvious to work at home than others. So I wouldn't say it's depending on the team size. It's rather the task that they need to collaborate to succeed with. Yeah. We have a final, maybe not a final question. We have 4 minutes left. Why not give your employees full flexibility in regards to when and where to work if possible? If work should be purposeful for the employees, it might not be between 9 and 5. And where to work could be more connected to the activity you have at that day. Yeah. So now we are introducing the flexibility in when to work. And again, it depends on the task that needs to be done. And we have taken a Pronestor as a strategy where we're doing these small steps. It might be in near future that we change the way of working, that we do have flexibility in working hours involved as well. But we're doing it small steps so we can, with employees, can follow this and see what fits us the best. So again, having the inside talk with your employees and not monitor in a negative way, but get some data that supports the actual use. Yeah, I think that's a really relevant question and a really good answer. Talk to your employees. This is the best way of actually embracing this hybrid way of working. As I mentioned before, if you have any other questions, please send them to us. We are more than happy to answer any questions you might have. We'll be happy to show you how we've worked with it. And I think we'll be back with another webinar soon on maybe something else, maybe the same. You never know. Have a really nice day. Thank you so much for watching.